Good morning, everyone. I am very excited this morning. It's Sandra Alexa here, and we have a beautiful new moon in Libra today. Now, I'm from GameChanger, and GameChanger is the new model of relationships. And I would like you to like, to share, to comment, and think about subscribing. If you comment, I draw a name once a month. Now, this is a very fascinating interview I'm doing this morning. Sophie's in a restaurant in Liverpool, and we met via the ether. And she said to me, is this going to be all right in a restaurant? To me, whatever is meant to be will be. Connected with her at a soul level. I am in Canada and she is in Liverpool. And so obviously we have some kind of a frequency. Okay, Sophie, talk about it. One of the things was that she talked about was the twin. And she is also an activist, not about control. And this is a time of great control right now. We have lots of choices we need to make, and we need to come into wholeness, because that's what the Aquarian age is about, not being controlled. So we think for ourselves, we masculine, feminine, and power. And at the same time, we become whole individuals. Okay, being whole individuals, and we're raising our frequency right now. We're moving from the Piscean to the Aquarian. Okay, and on December 20th is good. But one of the things that everybody always says to me, Sandra, you're spiritual, but you know what? There is no evil. It's all just good. Excuse me. Get a life. Get that out of the sand. Get the rose-colored glasses off. There is good, there is evil. I've worked in prisons, I've worked with youth offenders. There is, okay? And we need to wake up to it. And we are being controlled right now. We're being asked to align with the divine. Start to think for yourself and make decisions. The politics, everybody knows my stand, and I've been very, very clear on my Facebook. If you don't like what I say, you know, block me, because guess what? I will block you. I have no time for that kind of muddled frequency. So now I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to let Sophie tell us about herself. And we talked a little earlier, and she just blew me away with something that I've gone through. Okay? So go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandra. So just picking up from what you said, though, just to say that, yes, at the deepest and highest levels of consciousness, we are all one. It is only unconditional love, and it's all source, and it's all oneness. But in this infinite quantum field, this infinite universe, right now on planet Earth, we do not collectively exist at the deepest and highest levels of consciousness. We are in a battle and a war of energies between good and evil, and the evil side has, you know, incarnated to, they've chosen to participate, whether they will remember it or not, as the dark side. Okay, so we're here to transmute the energies, to come into resolution, and to come in to bring the polarities together into a different type of balance than what it was. That's from going from 3D to 5D consciousness. Now, the reason why that relates to the twin flame is because everything is, this is, you know, a phrase we often use, going from the micro to the macro. We as human beings are these tiny little frequency dots, like fairies of energy spread all around the world. But what we are is what the earth is what the universe is. We're just these, it's like, you know, the analogy I'll use is the Russian dolls. Yeah, so it just goes from big to small, smaller. What we're doing individually on earth with ourselves, that then is in deep symbiosis, deep correlation to what's happening to the earth, and then the cosmos, the galaxy, you know, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So coming into what you just said before about bringing the left and right hemisphere together, that has to happen in you first, and then it will snowball out externally. So how does this relate to the twin flame? Okay, this relates to the twin flame because we live in a polarized world of duality. For us to exist, so the earth has a north and south pole. For us to have incarnated on this physical plane from the ethers, that, you know, we've trickled down over thousands, you know, eons of time to come into this physical density, there has to be like the other version of you, the masculine, feminine. It doesn't even have to be masculine, feminine. It's just positive and negative. For you to actually exist here, there has to be a split at the soul level. Okay, that separates. And you know, this whole thing is so old. You know, Aristotle spoke about this, for example, about twin flames. So what happens now, before I go into detail about what happens, can I just also say that people who have experienced this aren't insane and haven't gone mad, because we now have data. I have a coach that coached me through this. There are thousands and thousands of people who have experienced the same thing, and there's a series of stages that happens to you as well, that gets you to that basically forces you. You have no choice in the matter. When you meet your twin flame in this physical density, you are forced, catalyzed and acclimatized into ascension. Okay, so what does that mean? That means all this mind stuff that is attached to your aura, to your energetic space, since you arrived on Earth from day dot, from birth, which has been fuckery, because, sorry for swearing, but it has, because the control, we've been controlled and we've been manipulated by dark entities, by dark energies, by evil energies that have inverted our true nature. Basically, in a nutshell, it's basically told us that we're not connected to spirit, that we're totally separate from the universe, we're separate from the earth, we're separate from everything, and we're just this physical lump that's come to exist here for a short amount of time, and then we die, and then that's the end of it. And the truth is the absolute opposite of that. So when you meet your twin flame, what happens to you is all of those incorrect beliefs that you've picked up. Remember that a belief is an energy, it's a frequency, and it's alive. It's a consciousness in your body that you're running, and it's operating over and over 24 hours a day. This is why we're programmed. When you meet your other you, the other you is the polar opposite of your mind. So yes, we can use male and female, but we can also use positive and negative. So it's a positive and negative charge. Now, I said before, there's sort of like stages to it. All the stage. Sorry, my phone just went. What basically always happens 99% of the time is there is a positively polarized person within the twin flame relationship who's awake. They're usually spiritual, they're usually sort of like tapped into what's going on. They're awake, as we say. They're searching for something. The polar opposite of you is the total opposite of that. So they're usually narcissistic, and again, we don't judge. We don't judge because they're narcissistic because of I was going to say the F word again. They're narcissistic because of the trauma that they've endured from coming into this plane of existence that has been manipulated, controlled, and inverted. So one of you is awake and one of you is completely, I wouldn't say asleep, but what happens is when you meet one another metaphysically, the energy from the positively polarized person it's, think of it like a system, like a battery. You are at a soul level, you are one, you're one unit at a soul level, at the higher levels of frequency. Yes, you're separate here in the physical plane, but at a soul, you're one. So your metaphysical energy travels to them. So when you meet them, it activates in you ascension, which is basically an ego death. Because ego death is the attachment to this false belief that you believe that you're this separate identity that you've created from birth. You meet your twin flame, and there's no way of going back. What has to happen? Because you've met your soul, you've met your, so in front of you is your mirror of you, and you cannot, the frequency, if you meet your soul, which is so pure, your soul is so pure, your soul is unconditional love, it cannot deal with anything that is less than pure and unconditional love. So what happens is all the metaphysical gunk, the debris, the non-truth you have to deal with, you are faced with, it's the ultimate mirror blown back in your face. All of your traumas, all of your insecurities, all of everything that's ever happened to you in your life is faced in front of your face. You have to deal with it. There's nowhere to go. Now what then happens is your metaphysical gunk, because at the highest levels you're one with the other version of you, travels to them. It's like a battery system, a negative, positive and negative battery. So the metaphysical energy travels to them, and this is when we go into what's called the runner and chaser stage of twins. So one will run away because they can't deal with your energy coming at them, even though they know deep down that they're so connected to you. So they run, and then the person usually chases them, and then it can go back and forth like that until the only way to stop this is the positively polarized person. It just means that you're conscious. The other person is at a subconscious level. So when you change, they'll change, but they don't know why they're changing. They just feel better. You get it? But the positive person is actively going through a conscious way to fully integrate themselves. So what happens to people is, which is so traumatic, they can either carry on the runner chaser stage for years and years and years because they don't know what this is. They have no idea. Or this is another part of the stage. One of the stages, some of the twins go, this isn't normal. What's happened to me isn't normal, because the dark night of the soul it's an actual metaphysical thing. It's obsessive thinking that won't stop and won't shut down. Obsessive. It's obsessive thoughts about the other person. But what you don't realize about the other person is that it's nothing to do with them. It's got, so you're putting all of what's happening onto them. But you've got to, you can compare it to, for example, say sometimes people awaken if a close one dies, or the severe grief, or an accident or an injury, and then they suddenly awaken to their true nature because the pain is so intense. The same thing happens with the twin flame. Okay, so you're forced into ascension and awaken because you've met this person. Then, so it's like it's a doorway into ascension. When you get over the fact it's not about that person, it's about you, and it's about what's happening to you. So you forget that person altogether, and you start working on yourself. You start integrating yourself. I don't need anybody else in my life for happiness. I only need me, because the true twin flame is the twin flame to God, source, divinity, whatever you want to call it. And then the whole paradox to this is that when you forget that person, and it becomes all about you fully integrated within yourself, that person comes back. And, they'll slowly start to come back into your life from nowhere, because at a soul level, it's your soul that's creating all of these things. So going back to what I just said, because the soul is pure, because the soul is unconditional love, when you've sorted the gunk out, the soul will naturally bring it back together, because now it's a perfect frequency for you both to exist and live in harmony. Yeah. And this is what all of the twins who've come to incarnate during this time, going back to what I said at the beginning, this is why they've incarnated. Because go back to the Russian doll analogy, if a man and a woman can now, or it's not even a man and a woman, because these gay relationships as well. There's a masculine and positive, masculine and feminine in whether you're gay, but you don't have to, even gay or not, but you don't even have to say masculine and feminine. You can just say a positive and negative charge.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
So it's, yeah. So for relationships to really truly work, because look at the divorce rate, for example, for it to really truly work, it's about two separate, fully integrated people coming together in unity and unison. And just to finish off, because I know I've talked a lot here, but just to finish off, the really, really important aspect to it is, even in the relationship, and this is radical, this is new relationships altogether for the new earth. The radical part of it is, there is no emotional bondage to that other person. There are no expectations of that other person. There are no, there's no even commitment. And counterintuitively, what happens is, because you've released all emotional bondage to the other person, because you're happy if this person is here, you're just as happy if this person goes, what happens is the person will never leave, because that's a situation of bliss, of unity, of unison, yeah, because of oneness, because you haven't placed any expectations on them. It's not up to them to make you happy. It's not emotional bondage, you know. And this is the whole thing. It's, I'm living my life, you're living your life, but we're both each other's divine counterpart. And if you were to come here and stay with me for the rest of life, that's great. But if you were to leave me tomorrow, that's also great as well, because I'm connected to the divine, because I'm connected to source, and that's all that I need. But this is and I say it like it's easy. This is what we're here to do. This is what we've come here to do. It's to understand this. It's the most intense thing that's ever happened to me, and every other twin I've ever met, and the twin, they say the same thing. They can't believe it happened to them. It's insane. It's insane, but it's also a blessing. Okay. It's just unreal.
I can totally connect. Love it. That's the whole thing with the Aquarian. You have explained it perfectly. Coming home to self, loving self. Okay. The next thing is, so you meet them, not necessarily do you stay with that person.
Yeah, it like, exactly. It doesn't matter if, as I just said, like, if they were to leave you tomorrow, it's fine. The point is, they came into your life and caused this ultimate cataclysm, this ultimate catalyst. And so even if that person who could be a narcissist doesn't understand it at a soul level, they just think that you were a psycho and a codependent, because that's usually what the relationship goes like, narcissist, codependent. Because you understand it and because you know it, you don't send them hate anymore, because at a soul level you understand you were my greatest teacher of my life. You were the ultimate teacher of my life, the ultimate mirror of my life. I love you and I thank you so much. You send that to them etherically, you know, even if you never see them in your life ever again. And then what might happen is, you may end up then with a soulmate, and the soulmate relationship is, you know, one of much easier relationship than a twin flame, and you can take all your lessons that you've learned from the twin with the soulmate. But
so it could actually be like a learning experience if you take it once you've been in that kind of a twin.
Listen, this situation is the ultimate lesson of life, because it applies to every single situation of life, every relationship that you enter. So, for example, somebody's coming at you with, you know, an altercation in the street. It's got nothing to do with me. This is you having your, you know, exorcism. You've got energies in you that you are expelling. I am the observer. I am the watcher. Let me just say this, Sandra. I'll tell you what the twin flame is, because there's so much pop culture about spirituality and twin flames these days, you know, and it's trendy. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what the twin flame is. It is the true spiritual journey. It is the 10,000 year philosophy of, I am not my mind. I align with your soul, be the observer, be the watcher, and you know, everything will fall into place. The only way you're going to get over that person who causes this cataclysm in you is if you release them, because you don't believe that the thoughts that you're thinking anymore, you don't believe them to be you. You haven't attached to them, and you don't believe that all of the drama and trauma is who you are. You don't believe it because you step back and you start to watch it. And you watch what you start. Well, you're like this, you know, this detective, this analyst. Hang on a minute, that's not who I am. I'm going to watch what I'm thinking here. And then when you watch it, it melts. It literally dissolves. It transmutes. It changes. It leaves.
Oh my God.
Because
you know what? You have no idea. We have come together at this specific time, probably for both of us, for every reason. Okay? Because this is basically what my whole belief has been. Okay. And so the words you use, be an observer, and I have gone through a lot of trauma. I've had a blessed life. Okay. And everything that you said today is condensed into my 72 years, for one, and all of the books I've read, all my experiences were condensed into this one specific moment of time, Sophie. This is so powerful. Okay.
It's so powerful. It's so simple.
Right.
It's so simple, but it's so, because of all of the effery that we've spoke about, we are literally plodding through. We are entrenched in illusion, in inverted reality, it's just not true. What we think about ourselves is just not true, and we've got to go through the jungle with an axe. Think of that in our mind, and we've got to axe this crap away that's not true. And you know, it's been ridiculed. You're not your mind aligned with your soul. People will ridicule that, but it's just the ultimate truth. You are not your mind. Your mind is this beautiful work of art. It's a function, but it's not who you are. It's here so you can interface with other people and the universe. You are your soul. You are spirit. You are eternal. That's who you are. You're an energy in a body. That's it.
Okay. Well, this is beautiful. One of the things is I want you to kind of close off and leave, because I want to do another session. The next time, I want to know how you got to this point in your life.
Definitely, perfectly. We'll discuss.
Right, because right now it's really essential that people get this message, because we are preparing for a big shift on December 20th and 21st.
We
and
really are.
What we need to do is we need to embody this, not have all of this, oh, we're going to dance over here, we're going to go over here. Simple, it's pragmatic, it's common sense, it's old, like you say. Okay, and I don't want people to walk off and do that. So when I do that,
well, Alex,
they can.
Perfect, and I'll explain it to people as well, because I came from a very typically corporate background, and you know, I had to melt it all away and dissolve all away. This is what an ego death is. This is what the ego death is. You know, all of the dreams and hopes and things that I planned for myself for the future, I had to let them all go. It's let go. I had to let them all go and watch them all just like die in front of me. It's very painful. And then you end up in an uncharted territory, and you're like, well, how do I exist in this 3D world after going through all of the, you know, pain and trauma that you've been through, and the releasing of your hopes and dreams and aspirations that were attached to this world. For example, you know, so I was a drama teacher, and then I went into acting and directing, and then as I'm going through this process, I'll talk about it more in more detail when we do it, but through going through this process, you just realize, I don't want that anymore. Everything that I've worked for my entire life, it's not who I am. It's not what I am. And then, you know, it's just very painful, but I guess that's what happens when you push. It's like a rebirth. It's like being born into a different plane altogether. And this is what's happening to us, as you said before, where people are going through a collective dark night of the soul. They don't know what's happening to them. They don't know where it's leading to. They don't know where it's going. But it's going honestly into a higher trajectory of consciousness, and it's getting closer to unity and love, even though it looks like mess. But then what does childbirth look like? Childbirth looks like absolute chaos, mayhem, disaster, death. But then you get this beautiful child at the end.
Right, and so it's about, and collectively we're purging, we're cleaning.
It's a purge. It's like an exorcism. I say it's like an exorcism.
Absolutely perfect. This was wonderful. I'm so excited. I've just gotten goosebumps. I'm so excited, and I always say with me synchronicity, and I come from a little town. Your family, it's really funny because I've done so many different things in my life, and it's not from I go where spirit takes me.
Yeah.
The bottom line is I run into beautiful souls, and for my, because I do astrology and I do gene key, I work with somebody that's done gene key, so it's about finding our purpose. So our purpose, each person has a different purpose. I don't believe anything is better than. It's to connect with you, and then you flow. So we have been brought together because I need a lot of shift.
Amazing. I was just going to say what you just said. See, and that is so true about the people who are playing the dark roles of existence here. We can't say that everybody has a purpose, but it's only if you're here for the light, only if you're here for the good. You know, there are people who've incarnated into the dark so that this can play out, so that this can happen. But they've chose it, and it's their karma and blah, blah, blah. It's so infinitely complex. Let's not even go there for now. But at the end of the day, that's their purpose. That's what they've come to do. And, you know, I can tell you more stories that have happened to me with people like this. And who I've met again, etherically, and, you know, things have happened to me that have pushed me into more ascension because of this. But I absolutely agree with you. There are very evil people in this world. You know, that's their job. And this is why it is a war. It's like a dance. You know, we are one, but it's polarized and it's separate. They're catalyzing us. They're catalyzing us. We're catalyzing them.
Right.
The two sides.
So it's the two sides. So I think it's kind of like a dance. Okay,
it's
and
a dance.
Right now it's like Armageddon, the white and the dark, and the dance. And the bottom line is, I can only speak for my process. My process is be the observer, be the witness, to see what is really going on. So it's a process of discernment, because people go, you can't judge. Listen, well, I need to be able to discern.
And here's how this applies to the twin flame thing, because people said to me at the very beginning, the twin flame thing is all about unconditional love. You have to unconditionally love your twin who is being absolutely narcissistically abusing you. I'm not going to go to my twin, I love you, unconditional love, whilst you're abusing me. It's go back to the Russian dolls. This is exactly what's happening. So the dynamic that's happening between you and your twin, where the other half of you is totally unconscious and doesn't understand what they're doing in their trauma, we can apply that to government and the people. It's the exact same relationship, but unconscious in different ways. One's codependently unconscious, one's narcissistically unconscious, both catalyzing one another into a higher state of being, a higher state, a higher frequency. So even though the narcissistic twin may never understand fully what's happened and what's gone on, they'll feel different because we're all connected. They'll feel different in some way. You'll have affected them in some way. They'll have ascended in some way. It's just a negatively polarized state that they're in, whilst the other is in a positively polarized state, so they're awake and conscious. Exactly the same with government and the people. We're awake now when we know what's happening and we're positively fighting for the light.
That's
They're
right.
they're negatively polarized, they're narcissistic and whatever, but they will be forced into change because we've changed the people. So it's always a relationship, always, you know, this is what the duality is. Like, could we exist here right now without the evil? Could good exist without evil? No, because you have to have, it's the contrast to show you the evil can't exist without the good. It's, you know, it's so paradoxical, but it's the paradoxical thinking that is going to get you to understand this. We're one at the highest levels, but then we're separate as well. Both true at the same time.
That's perfect. One of the things is that moving into because I've done a lot of past life regression and that type of thing, and especially with my healing over the last stuff. But it's saying that it's interesting. We're going to be meeting more of our past life connections, so that we
Yeah.
own
Yes.
healing for our own to get into our wholeness. So you know what, we could go on. I'm so excited that I have,
And we can say that about the that, you know, the lineage of our ancestors as well. We're healing the ancestral lines, all of it in this quantum field of infinity. You know, the morphic field. It's the light language, God, all of it. It's, you know,
I just
infinite.
got goosebumps, because that's the bottom line. We're doing our own personal karma, our own personal karmic healing, our relationship karmic healing, and our ancestral healing.
And then just think of it of these I always just get the image of these Russian dolls, or you know, the never-ending mirrors that you look into, and it's just going off infinitely. And whatever you know, consciousness wants to know itself. It's a never-ending quest because it's eternal and it will never end. So consciously, you know, the job will never ever be done, ever, you know. So we're here to experience this. We're here to experience what consciousness is.
To experience in advance and whatever go. Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm going to close it again. I want to say to everyone, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandra.
The universe has brought us together, and I'm sure everybody will enjoy it. I'm
so grateful
to see the comments that everybody puts. And I do want Sophie to come back again. We're going to talk, and I will put her information, you can get a hold of her and everything. And again, so if you comment and like and share, I would appreciate it, and subscribe. But you're open to winning a mini reading with me. I do it once a month for anybody that comments.
Oh, that's so lucky.
You have a connection with Sophie, and that's the greatest thing. And you know what? This is absolutely phenomenal, because this month we had 3 moons, and we are doing this on the most powerful new moon in Libra, but we have a tremendous amount of challenge, because we have Mercury that is retro in Scorpio. We have Mars that is retrograde, okay, in Aries. We have Pluto that is all about transformation, that is really pushing. Jupiter is trying to expand. So we have a lot of this kind of...
There's so much to deal with, exactly.
People, you're being asked to go within and to do your work, and rather than point fingers, it's to really look here. So it's absolute a perfect time,
because the planets are alive as well. The planets are part of consciousness, and they're in their own relationships that affect us. Again, the Russian doll concept. What's happening outside is happening inside. And what you've just said as well, in Liverpool, funnily enough, tomorrow we have a huge peaceful gathering happening in the city, which is the whole of the country is going to be watching. It's in the UK, because Liverpool has an ongoing battle with government, which has gone on for years. So this is hope. You know, there's a lot of energies that are going to have to be really delicately balanced there, with everything that you've just said about what's going on. So please, people, send lots of peace to Liverpool tomorrow as we try to transmute this.
Right, and
because it's for the world. It's not just for Liverpool and the UK. It's for humanity, and it's for the globe, and it's for our planet.
And so that's why I share those kind of peaceful protests We haven't had them, but I can be my own activist for freedom, the freedom of our soul
Exactly.
and the freedom
Of our mind,
for
freedom
our
of our soul.
children, for our children. What are we going to be leaving them, type of thing. So I like to share those. So I always share for whatever, because there's a lot of that right now throughout the world, collectively and here. So I am going to say, I'm going to stop this now.